everyone, today we need to talk about something happening in California that almost nobody outside the state is paying attention to, but it is going to hit your wallet no matter where you live. So just imagine this with me. A company sets up shop in a state in 1876. 1876, before the light bulb was in homes, before cars existed, before the state even finished building its rail lines. Over the next 140 plus years, that company grows into one of the two largest oil companies in America. It builds two of the biggest refineries on the West Coast. It employs thousands of workers. It generates billions in tax revenue for the state it was born in. And then, this spring, the president of that company stands up at an energy conference in Houston and tells the world flat out, we will be gone in 10 years. We won't be able to make it. Who am I talking about? Chevron. And the state? California. The number buried inside this story, the one nobody on the news is putting in front of you, is going to make your stomach drop because it tells you exactly what your gas pump is about to look like. By the end of this video, you are going to see the full picture. And trust me, it is bigger than oil. So if you drive a car, if you take a flight, if you eat food that was shipped to a grocery store, this affects you. Hit that subscribe button because we are going deep on this one. Let's get into it. So here's what happened. Earlier this spring, Chevron's president of refining, a man named Andy Walls, sat down with Bloomberg during the CERAWeek Energy Conference. And he did not soften it. He did not hedge. He said if California does not change course on its tax on refineries, Chevron will be gone in 10 years for sure. He said the state is playing a dangerous game. Weeks before that, Chevron sent a formal letter to Governor Gavin Newsom warning that proposed changes to the state's cap and invest program, on top of existing refinery taxes and emissions rules, were eroding the foundation of the state's energy industry. Now, you might be tempted to roll your eyes. Big oil company complains about regulations. What else is new? But here's what you need to understand. Chevron is not a newcomer threatening to leave. This is a company that was founded in California in 1876. That is older than the telephone in most homes. That is older than the state of Idaho. And the man warning that the lights are about to go out is not some Wall Street analyst. He runs the actual refining operation. He knows what the books look like. So why now? Why this year? That is where the story gets dangerous, because it is not just about one tax or one regulation. It is about a stack of them, all hitting at the same time. And one of them is about to fundamentally change what you pay every time you fill up your tank. To understand why Chevron is finally pulling the alarm, we need to understand the pile of policies that got us here. The state already taxes refineries directly. It already runs a low carbon fuel standard that adds an extra charge to every gallon of gasoline. It already passed a ban on the sale of new gas-powered cars after 2035. It already runs the cap and invest program, which forces companies to pay permits for the carbon they produce. And then, in January of 2026, the California Air Resources Board introduced an even more aggressive version of cap and invest. According to Chevron's own analysis, that program alone could add more than $1 per gallon to gas prices by 2030. $1 per gallon. On top of what Californians already pay. And remember, this is happening while there is an active war involving Iran, which has effectively choked off the Strait of Hormuz. That matters because 70% of California's crude oil supply comes from foreign imports, much of it from Asian countries that depend on Middle East crude. So just imagine the picture. The state taxes the refineries that still operate inside its borders. The refineries it has left are squeezed. The imports it relies on are getting strangled by a war 10,000 miles away. And the state's plan is to add another $1 per gallon at the pump. The math does not work. Here is the part that should genuinely concern you. Chevron is not the first to flinch. Last year, Phillips 66 closed its 650-acre refinery complex near the Port of Los Angeles, after Newsom signed a law tightening regulations on gas storage and refineries. Valero has scaled back operations. Chevron itself moved its corporate headquarters out of California to Houston in 2024, which was the warning shot nobody listened to. And now you have the company saying out loud that the actual refineries, the physical plants that make the fuel, may not survive another decade. So who actually gets hurt when those refineries close? It is not the oil executives. They will be fine. It is the woman driving an hour each way to a hospital job in San Bernardino. It is the contractor in Fresno who needs to fill up his truck before sunrise. It is the family in Sacramento that already pays almost $6 a gallon, while the rest of the country pays under $4. The current national average for a gallon of gas is around $3.98. In California, it is sitting at $5.84. That gap is already brutal, and it is about to get wider. That brings us to the number nobody on cable news wants to put on screen. Here it is, 34%. Chevron operates 2 refineries in California. The Richmond refinery in the Bay Area employs about 1,200 workers. The El Segundo refinery near Los Angeles employs about 1,100. Together, those 2 facilities produce roughly 30% of the entire state's refined petroleum. According to the California Energy Commission, if Chevron walks, the state loses 34% of its refining capacity overnight. 34% gone. And here's the part that makes that number a 5-alarm fire. California is what energy analysts call an energy island. It is not connected to the rest of the country's pipeline network the same way Texas or Louisiana is. More than 90% of the gasoline burned in California is refined inside the state. So when a refinery closes in California, you cannot just pipe in extra fuel from Houston. You have to ship it in by tanker, often from overseas. That takes weeks. It costs more. It is exposed to every global supply shock. And remember, the state's own oil production has dropped 75% since the 1980s. So the supply is shrinking, the refineries are leaving, the imports are getting harder to source because of the Iran war, and the state's response is to pile on another $1 per gallon. This is not a policy debate anymore. It is a slow-motion supply crisis being engineered in real time. What are the people in charge actually doing about it? That is the most frustrating part of the whole thing. Walz publicly urged Newsom and state lawmakers to reconsider the cap and invest changes and to rethink in-state oil production. Newsom's office has not budged. The state legislature, which leans heavily progressive on energy policy, has shown no signs of pulling back. Some lawmakers have actually pushed for a profit cap on refineries on top of everything else, which is the corporate equivalent of telling someone you are about to evict to also paint the kitchen on the way out. And here's what makes both sides fail. Ordinary Californians are not getting represented in this fight. The oil executives are protecting their margins. The state is protecting its climate agenda. The activists are protecting their political wins. And the family at the gas station, the one staring at a pump that already says $57 to fill up a sedan, is not in any of these rooms. Nobody is fighting for them. The state's own legislative analyst has warned about the cost of these policies. The data is right there, and it is being treated like background noise. But this is not just about California. This is about you, wherever you are watching from. Washington State and Oregon are moving forward with their own cap and invest style programs. New York has been studying similar refinery emission rules. Even Illinois has talked about it. The pattern is identical to what we covered in the New York grocery story. A state or a city with high costs and a fiscal crunch tries to engineer the outcome it wants by stacking policies on top of each other. The private companies that fund the system threaten to leave, the state calls their bluff, and then everyone is shocked when the prices on the shelf or the prices at the pump explode. If you live in a state that imports its fuel from California, like Nevada or Arizona, you are already exposed. If you live somewhere that is considering similar policies, your turn is coming. And if you live anywhere in North America, including up here in Canada where I am, you should know that fuel markets are connected. When California's price spikes, it ripples. Diesel goes up, trucking goes up, groceries go up, plane tickets go up. There is no such thing as a local energy crisis anymore. So let's bring this full circle. We started with a company that has been in California since before the light bulb was a household item. A company that built 2 of the largest refineries on the West Coast. A company that produces almost a third of the state's refined fuel. And the man who runs its refining business is now saying out loud that they will not survive another 10 years if the state stays on its current path. Here is the bottom line. This is not a fight between an oil giant and a green governor. This is about what happens when a state decides it can regulate an industry into the future it wants while ignoring what the industry actually needs to keep operating today. You cannot squeeze the people making the fuel and then act surprised when the fuel disappears. You cannot pretend a state is an island when it comes to climate policy and forget that it is also literally an island when it comes to gasoline supply. Whether or not you support the climate goals behind these policies, the math has to work. And right now, it does not. So I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think Chevron is bluffing, or do you think they actually walk? Do you live in California, and have you already seen gas prices climbing in your neighborhood? And do you think other states are about to make the same mistake? Let's talk about it down in the comments. If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the stories that actually affect your wallet and your future. Hit that notification bell so you do not miss what is coming next. Stay informed, stay engaged, and never stop asking questions. See you in the next one.